Welcome, listeners. As you haven't figured out, we are streaming at www.coopradio.org and on the local dial at 100.5 FM. And joining us on the line is our community activist, Yves Engler. Hello, Yves.
How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Pretty good.
Thank you for taking this time out and joining us. Yves, I wanted to just first make a disclaimer for the NDP. If any of the candidates are interested in getting a hold of us and scheduling in some time for equal opportunity, we're always welcome for that. Because we've asked you to come and join us today to talk about your running for the federal NDP. And if you don't mind, I'll just start with a quote from your website. For too long, the NDP has drifted towards centralism, attempting to appease corporate interests rather than boldly representing the working class. My vision is different. I'll stand unapologetically for democratic socialism, a society rooted in economic justice, peace, democracy, and the empowerment of working people. And I guess I wanted to first start off by asking you to talk a little bit about your proposed measures in revitalizing Indigenous forms of justice. You've talked a little bit about that in your campaign. It's an important issue for you. And can we just start off by asking you sort of to lay out for us your structure or the way that you would transform the relationship with Indigenous communities in Canada?
Well, the first point is to obviously recognize that we stole this land, and Indigenous First Nations have underlying title, and it's the notion of a nation-to-nation relationship that needs to be central, and there needs to be land back. There needs to be a restoration of the stolen land, and I think that's fundamental. You can't have we focus on building economic democracy and socialism, but you can't have a just economic order that's built on top of the dispossession, the fundamental injustice of Canada. So that needs to be central to any reconfiguration of social relations in this country. And what we're seeing with David Eby in BC is that they're conceding to this right-wing pushback with regards to the Cowardston decision, and then the recent decision, I guess 48 hours ago. Mm-hmm. And we actually want to see the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People be strengthened in its adoption. And there's many facets to how that needs to be pursued. There's all kinds of things from education needs to be in the Indigenous community's hands, and there needs to be the full implementation of the missing and murdered Indigenous women inquiry, and we have a whole slew of different issues that are topics that are cited in the platform that people can check out at ndp2026.ca or Yves for NDP Leader. But the basic notion is, and also like the notion of free, prior, informed consent, which of course is a step forward in one sense. It's not sufficient. You can't destroy people's governance structures, economic possibilities, and then come in and say, well, if you agree to this extractive project, we'll give you 10%, and act like that's actually free, prior, informed consent. You've stolen the land. You've destroyed the political structures, and you're basically negotiating from a position of dominance, and to the idea of just having free not free consent. So we've called for a moratorium on projects on stolen land. This is not easy to realize immediately. This is not. There's lots of different First Nations that need to be. They have different. They have different legitimate demands of restitution of land, and so it's not an easy, but it has to start from the fundamental that this is stolen. There is no justice that doesn't include land back, and there needs to be negotiation. Now, unfortunately, we see Carney is going in the opposite direction with his bid to expand pipelines, and we just had the Assembly of First Nations, which is a very dependent on Ottawa colonial body, that even the Assembly of First Nations came out unanimously criticizing this pipeline agreement, or this memorandum of understanding between the federal government and Alberta, which is going to further trample on Indigenous rights. So we need to push back against those immediate things like expansion of the pipeline, but also deal with the fundamental injustice this country was founded upon.
So, Yves, just to follow up, I mean, I have a couple more questions as we go, but just a follow-up with this one is then, I mean, how will you go about changing your party's relationship with Indigenous sovereignty and self-determination? Because obviously, I mean, historically, the NDP has kind of failed on that.
Well, I mean, the first part is to be open and direct that history. There's a long history of the NDP provincial governments in Saskatchewan and BC being the colonial agent, like the sending NDP and probably even Canadian Special Forces into Gustafson Lake in '95 in BC with the NDP government is a egregious example of NDP government employing state violence to deepen the colonial process. But so the first step is to be honest about it, to be clear about it, to support First Nations in their demands, to bolster their bargaining position, to call it out. I don't think it's. Some of it's not easy, but it needs to just be, like activism and like political organizing. You need to organize, you need to mobilize, and as first of all, as part of this campaign to lead the NDP, we're centering these issues in the platform and videos and memes and the like, that we're spreading our message. And if I were to become a leader, I would be continue to do that, and obviously with a bigger soapbox, and at times that would include being critical of NDP leaders that are deepening the colonial injustice.
Thanks, Yves. I wanted to give you a chance to inform us a little bit around the vetting process that you are going through. So the party's vetting process has blocked you from even appearing on the leadership ballot, despite your stated commitment. So just walk us through what that was like for you and where we're at now.
Well, so from announcing my candidacy right away, there was groups, particularly anti-Palestinian, pro-genocide organizations, that right away said the NDP should not allow me to formally participate in the race. And, I wasn't naive to the fact that I've often criticized NDP policy, particularly on foreign policy, and that there are forces within the NDP, as we know, that are either not very open to criticism, are not happy with the political outlook that I adhere to and what I've put out publicly. So we knew that there was always going to be obstacle to getting through this vetting process. Now, the concrete vetting process is basically three people who get to decide if you uphold the values of the party. It's very vague language, very subjective language. And our position is that the values of the party are up to the members to decide. And one of the ways you determine.
Hi, Yves. Hello.
At conventions.
Sorry, Yves, we lost you for about 30 seconds there. So just backtrack for about 30 seconds.
Yeah, well, sorry, I don't know exactly where, but there's a three-person committee that determines if a candidate opposes the values of the party. And what we believe is that the values of the party are determined by the membership, and also who they select as a leader, and also as who they select to be the federal council, and what resolutions are voted at convention. That's the values of the party, not this vetting where you get basically backroom decision makers deciding who members get to even select or who they can vote for is very undemocratic. Mm-hmm. And so we stalled on submitting for vetting with the intent of building momentum for the campaign, of showing that we had the capacity to raise funds, because they put a very high threshold, $100,000. You have to pay the party $100,000 to participate in the race. High threshold, financial threshold. So, and these nomination signatures. So we fulfilled the nomination signatures. We raised over $100,000 pretty quickly, and then finally on November 10th we put in for vetting formally, and now it's in the hands of the NDP's vetting committee to determine if they think that we uphold the values of the party. Now they've made many signs that suggest they're not too keen on our campaign. Back in the end of September, they wouldn't let me participate in the Ontario NDP convention, and that was according to the head of NDP, that was coming directly from the federal party. They've done a whole series of smaller things that are signaling that they're not keen in our campaign. They went to the press and basically said that we were violating the rules with regards to our fundraising, which is absolutely not correct at all. Basically we're in a situation where we're waiting on the party to make a decision about whether they'll let us to formally participate in this campaign. We believe we should be part of the campaign because we clearly have significant support. We have over 1,000 volunteers. We have raised significant amounts of money. We have it's just clear that we have certainly more support than two of the five candidates that are formally part of the race, but we know that there are powerful forces that don't want to hear anti-capitalist messages, that certainly don't want to hear anti-imperialist messages. We saw that at the NDP leadership debate, which they wouldn't let me in, even though I'm the only fluent French speaker. The debate here in Montreal a week or so ago, and there was nothing about foreign policy. There was not a single question about foreign policy, not a single question about the radical militarist turn from Mark Carty. The Gaza wasn't mentioned by any of the candidates. So the party has a real aversion to anti-imperialism. We know that NDP has regularly supported, the bombing and destruction of Libya in 2011. They've backed the 2019 Juan Guaido bid to overthrow the government in Venezuela. They've have a long history of Zionism. So the NDP has they've gotten better on Palestine in recent years, but they have a long history of basically going along with official Canadian foreign policy. And unfortunately, the indications are that they are setting up to block my candidacy, and with I think my writing about Canadian foreign policy being an important part of what they're not happy about.
Yves, I wanted to also just ask you around your campaign in terms of how are you finding support across the country for your campaign? What's that looking like? Can you give us a snapshot on that before I ask you the next question?
Well, I've been taken aback by how much support there is. I mean, the fundraising. I didn't believe that we would be able to hit the $100,000 threshold, and we've done that without access to the NDP list. We've done that entirely on our own, which is quite remarkable. Because all the others, as part of being in the vetting, once you pass vetting, you get access to the NDP list. That is 100,000, 150,000 different contacts. We don't have that. We've done all our fundraising, all our events. We've organized 20 plus events across the country. A number of them quite good turnouts. The biggest one, we had one in Toronto, 200 people about 3 weeks ago. So there's been a kind of a stunning level of support. I've been taken aback. There's also been a remarkable level of backlash and smear and all kinds of hostility, including from people who say they're on the left. I mean, it's kind of been remarkable to see how much the people around the Avi Lewis campaign, how much mud they've thrown our way, and how much punch left has taken place from segments of the sort of left of the NDP. But no, it's been completely remarkable how much support there's been.
Before I leave this topic, Yves, then I just have another one follow-up to this is, okay, I mean, I don't want to be pessimistic about it. Of course, I feel that they'd be shooting themselves in the foot. But if they don't approve of your application, how do you feel you might pivot or what?
Well, we're going to keep, the NDP convention is the end of March in Winnipeg, and we're going to keep demanding to be included in the race. We're going to keep, we would keep saying that it would be wrong to exclude us, and we have some thoughts and plans of how to keep the campaign going and doing public events and doing something in Winnipeg and stuff like that. So that's where we're focused right now. Well, first of all, we're focused on getting in. But if they don't, the signs are starting to point more and more clearly that they're not. Form. And where that goes after that, that's a different question. There's different left groups that are part of this campaign, and a lot of them have different ideas and thoughts about setting up other this or that, or different network, or eco-socialist network, or this kind of stuff. That's all kind of like up for discussion. But yeah, we're going to keep campaigning, keep drawing attention to the deficiencies within the NDP structure, and just make our presence felt. We've had a big impact on the tone of the debate. We've seen multiple different issues where the other candidates have literally just like taken our language. Like Heather McPherson's talking about a national housing emergency. Well, that's exactly the language that we've been pushing for multiple months. She doesn't go as far as we go. We're calling for housing so we can use the boards to take the real estate investment trusts and convert those 200,000 plus units into co-ops and use this added power that comes with the Emergency Act to do that. She's not going that far. She's criticizing the real estate investment trust, but not saying she wants to convert them to co-ops. Just yesterday, Avi Lewis came out on saying we need to abolish tuition and have free post-secondary education. Well, we've been pushing that for the last 3 months. It's in our platform. We've put out a number of memes and statements and stuff on that issue. So he's taken that up. Some of the stuff on Palestine. Heather McPherson taken up the call to prosecute Canadians fighting in Houfa and Gaza. So we're having a significant impact on the, even though we're not formally part of the race, even though they didn't let us in the first official debate, we're having a significant impact on the politics. There's no doubt in my mind that we've significantly push the discussion to the left.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it's I'm really thankful for your time with us and for sharing around your experiences. Yves, the other thing I want to leave you with or ask you to share with this time around is your emphasis on internationalism and human rights and ending Canadian complicity in genocide with Palestine, but of course across the globe. So talk to us a little bit about your vision around that. How is it going to be achievable if you do indeed win the leadership of the NDP? What would be some of the tools or mechanisms you would use, as you would probably still be in opposition, but maybe talk to us about sort of that.
Well, the first thing is to even have a vision of Canadian foreign policy, to start with a proper analysis or an acceptance that Canada foreign policy mostly assists the U.S. empire and Canadian corporations. That's the bulk of what Canadian foreign policy is designed to do. Specifically on Palestine, we have a very detailed 10-point plan. We've been pushing that in leaflets at demonstrations. We've been pushing it online. It's in our platform. We go a bit further in some parts of the platform. But basically, most of it is structured around just upholding existing Canadian law vis-a-vis Israel and stopping treating Israel as a sort of special, unique country. And the 10 points are around the Foreign Enlistment Act, upholding Canadians fighting, going to join the Israeli military, the prosecution of Canadians who've gone to Gaza under the Crimes Against Humanity Act, the registered charities that are violating existing Canada Revenue Agency rules and supporting the Israeli military, West Bank settlements, racist organizations, enforcing the Export-Import Act's position on not selling weapons to human rights violators. That's just upholding Canadian law. We don't even uphold, 2 years into this genocide in Gaza, Canada still doesn't uphold its own, not international law, but just its own domestic laws vis-a-vis Israel. Then there's other things that are like and noted about bubble zones, abolishing the terrorism list. Vancouver with the Sami Dunes being a year ago being put on the terrorism list. That's just part of the whole anti-Palestinian nature. The terrorism list is deeply anti-Palestinian. The special envoy to combat supposedly special envoy anti-Semitism, but it's really just been a tool to protect Israel from criticism. The Canada-Israel Free Trade Agreement needs to end, and Operation Proteus, Canada training Palestinian forces to oversee the occupation of West Bank. Now, how do you implement that? First of all, you talk about the things. That's obviously the first thing, and then you act. I'd say Heather McPherson has worn a watermelon pin in the House of Commons. That's the big defiant act of the NDP Foreign Affairs critic amidst the live stream Holocaust in Gaza. I don't think that's sufficient. I think that it's an embarrassment that there's not an NDP MP that got arrested in challenging Canadian complicity over the past 2+ years. The Jagmeet Singh never went to a single demonstration opposing genocide. He goes to all kinds of picket lines. He goes to all kinds of different rallies for different issues, but didn't go to one demonstration. There's been thousands across the country. So these are small. These are small, obvious things that could have been done, but because of different political reasons, they haven't been. And the NDP has been very aligned for Zionism historically. They've been very deferential. Eddie in BC still continues to be deferential to CIJA, the Center for Israel and Jewish Affairs. So the federal party's shifted a little bit on that, but these are some of the things that you need to talk about. Now, more broadly on Canadian foreign policy, we need to take it seriously. The NDP's history, unless there's a lot of activism challenging foreign policy issue, the NDP's de facto position historically is basically just to align with official Canadian foreign policy. The official Canadian foreign policy is imperialistic, it's pro-U.S., it's pro-corporate, and that needs to obviously end. Again, it's not, you only have the power you have as a leader of a party with 7 MPs in the House of Commons, but at minimum you should try to use the power that you have, could and should be doing.
Yves, we're going to have to leave it there. Thank you so much for always picking up our phone call. We've had a good time talking with you and some clarity around what you've been up to.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much. You take care. Okay. And what we're going to do is remind everybody that we are streaming from Coast Salish territories, and we are here on Mondays between 5 and 7, and stay tuned for Stark Raven, which comes up every first Mondays after our program. We're going to take a quick break while we connect with our next guest and talk about apartheid-free communities. So stay tuned.